Hey guys, I wanted to do another episode of This and That Chat because I've been watching two in particular video responses. It's hard for me to kind of talk about my point of view because I'm not a guy, but obviously as a avid reader and how I love the books for boys, about boys, for boys, I think I can give my input because I do love those type of books, and I realize that there's not enough for them, and how these books for boys, about boys, whatever, may be created for them, but really both girls and guys can read these kind of books. Now, I don't think there's enough books out there just for guys, and it's hard for me to say that because I don't know which ones are out there. I mean, I find that these kind of books don't have the spotlight they deserve because, to be honest, girls read more than guys, and I think that's relatively true, but there are a lot of guys who do read. But I think that the YA genre really targets the female audience, which is why there's not enough books out there for them. Anyway, that's the basis of what I'm going to talk about. Last week, we talked about worlds beneath our feet. So I had two people mention something specific that kind of related to that topic. Priscilla from the Readables said that The Mockingjay, which is the last book in the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins, she said that the third book, final installment, kind of reminded her of that because it definitely was a darker book and there was that kind of concept to it. So that was a great idea. I did not think of that. And Maxi Magic, also known as Kaisa, mentioned how Demolition Man, which is a movie, reminded her of that because it has the underworld concept to it. So their links will be in the bottom bar. Check them out. Check out their channel. And also, on this topic that I'm talking about right now, like I said, it's about books for boys, about boys, written by boys. I'm going to leave the two video responses that I did watch in the bottom bar. Now, the one who started this topic was Andrew Smith, and he wrote Marbury Lens. And then Karen at OCD of Books did a video response, which is great. I'm going to leave that down there too. And then Braiden, also known as Tappentiggerer, did his video response as well, and his is especially great because he is a guy book lover, so it kind of makes it more accurate in a sense, so I'll leave it in the bottom bar as well. I think that since Twilight hit the shelves and how it became such a huge phenomenon, the kind of YA books for female readers skyrocketed. So I think that's pretty much where it all started. Before then, before Twilight, I wasn't a huge reader. I have not read Twilight. I just think that Twilight opened the doors for readers because after Twilight, a lot of people did, and a lot of girls did start to read books, and that's where I think the whole YA genre took off. And personally, I don't know a lot of guys who read like I do. Obviously, on the YouTube book community, there are tons of guys who read, and I think that's great because you need both input. You need a girl's input and a guy's input. That's why I think this topic is great, because it kind of shines on the whole idea of these books for guys and how there's not many of them. I have read my fair share of books for guys, but I think these books can also be read by girls and they will love them just as much. Now, I understand that there are books kind of directed for guys, but they have to be directed for girls too, because if they're not, then that kind of takes away a whole audience, because some girls don't like reading those kind of books. So I understand that a lot of female authors are going to write with a female protagonist because obviously that's what girls want. Now, some girls do like a male protagonist. I think that a lot of books in the guy genre of YA should be have a spotlight on them. I think a lot of them should be recognized. I can see myself as an author, and I am not, if I were to be writing a book, I would be writing it for both, because you're not going to just write it for one. You kind of have to generalize it with both genders, and I think it's hard for authors to write a book solely for boys, because then it takes out the huge audience of girls, because I do believe that girls do read more than boys. But obviously a lot of boys do read, but I just think that overall I have seen a lot more girls read, and I don't know, I haven't really met a guy who has read books from the YA genre, and that's kind of sad because I think that they think all books are for girls. I think a lot of them think that the YA genre is not very is not really for them, and I really want that to change because there are a lot of books for guys that are also for girls, but they can like them as well. And that's what I want to do at my school within my library. I want to kind of put the spotlight on The Maze Runner by James Dashner, The Ask and the Answer, which is the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness, and The Enemy by Charlie Higson. There's a ton of great books out there for guys, and I think that if they read the books more, then authors will write more for them. Like when I walk into Indigo and I go into the YA section, I never see a guy looking at the books, which is a sad thing. They just don't know what's there for them. They might be intimidated with all the girly covers. Maybe they're intimidated by how many girls are in there at a time. But I think maybe Twilight turned them off. I know a lot of guys don't like Twilight, they hate it, and they think that if that was a book, then I'm staying away from the YA genre completely. And obviously, authors may realize that the guy audience for YA is not as big as the female audience for YA. As a girl, I feel that I can read both. I don't care if the main character is a guy or a girl. I can find myself appreciating the characteristics for both. Obviously, I like the romance with a girl, female protagonist who kind of meets a guy, and I love the action and thrill that comes with a book with a male protagonist. And one serves something that's different than the other, and if I didn't have either one, I'd be missing out. I haven't read a lot of books with a main guy character, and that's because I haven't heard a lot about that audience, those books directed for that audience. I also read books for boys, written by boys, because I want to separate myself from the romance. For me, these kind of books is an escape for me to get away from a girl's point of view. I want to be with the male's point of view within a book. I want to see how they see things, how they deal with things. Girls obviously deal with things different than boys, and we're different by nature, so it's great to read about that in a YA read because it's just different, and that's what we do when we read. We look for an escape, we look for something different, we don't want something that's the same as everything else. So for me, these kind of books is the change that I need, and without them, I wouldn't have that balance, and I think that balance is really key when you read books. If you know any books with a male protagonist, leave them in the comments because I'd love to check them out. I'm willing to check out anything, give it a chance. If it sounds good to me, then I will check it out. Now, I've read about 4 series with a male protagonist, so I'd like to read more, and obviously the rest are girls, but they do have male characters in them. I think a author who is able to write a book for both audiences has a lot of talent because boys and girls read for different reasons, so when a book is created for both of them, that means they both like it and that it pleases both audiences, which is great because books have to be versatile like that in order for it to be successful. I want more guy books to be out there, and obviously I've read my fair share of books from male authors. Scott Westerfeld is one of my favorite male authors. I'd say James Dashner follows that, Michael Grant, and Patrick Ness. If I was a guy, I'd definitely be more passionate about this topic, but as a girl who loves male books, I still am really passionate about the idea because books are one of my favorite, it's like one of my leading passions in life. So that variety that is kind of missing in the YA right now definitely needs to be there, and that's why I wanted to do this response. So if you have any ideas as well, leave them in the comments. I'm sure most of you have already talked about that in other video responses, but you know, if you still want to talk about it, leave it in the comments. I'm thrilled to see you guys respond and answer to topics like this, and I'm going to do my Q&A soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I am so appreciative of every single one of you, and I will see you soon.